करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
The second of the long poems is titled Andrea Del Sarto. When we were having the session on 3C intellect, we had made a reference to this poem there. A person may be immensely talented, but if the intellect is not there, the talent will not blossom and reach its fullest potential. And that is where we said Andrea Del Sarto is a very classical example of this case. Born in Italy in 1487, he lived a short life. Just 43 years he died. Extremely gifted, talented painter. In the prime of his youth, he fell in love with a woman called Lucrezia. Lucrezia was the already wife of a hatter. But as luck would have it, the hatter died. And therefore there was an opportunity. So Andrea Del Sarto married Lucrezia. He was extremely infatuated with her. He was already a very sort of famous painter in Italy, in Florence. And then Andrea Del Sarto's paintings were brought to the notice of King Francis of France. So Andrea Del Sarto was called to Paris, where he produced exemplary art. Everybody in France were actually very flabbergasted by his produce, whatever he produced. But Lucrezia became impatient and she urged Andrea Del Sarto to return back home. Actually, his career was peaking, you can say, and he would have gone greater heights, obviously, at that point of time. That was a very phenomenal period in his life. But in a very short span, within a year or so, Lucrezia urged that he should come back. And helplessly, out of his infatuation and attachment to her, he came back. The French king agreed for his going and coming back, assuming that it will be a short stay and he will again come back. He gave him a good amount of money also so that he can promote his art. But the story is that he never went back. And he spent all the money gave by the king to buy a house for himself and his wife in Fiesole, a suburb in Florence. And from there onwards is a downward spiral journey was there in his life. And this poem is talking about his life as told by himself. That is how Robert Browning creates a very dramatic monologue. Commentators say that of all the various poems, we have not read various poems that Browning has made and various characters that this is one of the style that he makes the characters speak in a sort of a monologue. Of all the characters, this probably is very, very uncharismatic very pessimistic is Andrea Del Sarto. But probably that is where Robert Browning has succeeded in portraying a character as to what will happen to a person when he is completely devoured by this attachment. In the last poem, we saw a woman's infatuation to man, where Laodamia was very much attached to her husband Protesilaus. But obviously Protesilaus was seeking higher glory, and therefore he attained whatever he attained, and Laodamia could not probably keep up to the level of Protesilaus. And the poem centered around the great gems of wisdom that Protesilaus gave to Laodamia. That's how Wordsworth has made that poem. But this poem, I really do not know how to take. Neither, should you expect any great message after message coming here? Not at all. This is a poem that you must simply visualize and go along with the monologue of Andrea Del Sarto and feel the agony and pain that he goes through. And I think that is where Robert Browning has succeeded. One or two here or there will be some quotations that we can, take up for further contemplation. But otherwise, it is talking about his mood swings. It is talking about his extreme pessimism. This poetry also talks about the resignation of the painter Andrea Del Sarto. And in and through all these things, because of the attachment, he is still not able to leave the object of love. At least having lost everything in his life, whether it is fame, whether it is his money, whether it is youth, whether it is his art, inspiration, for whom did he sort of give up all? Give up means not voluntarily. For whom he was ready to forgo all these things. Did he at least get that lady love? No, that is also not the case. And that is what is the extreme tragedy of the painter here, the Andrea Del Sarto. So this poetry only reveals or picturizes, gives a very graphic description of the state of mind of a person who is extremely attached, how he is consumed by himself and he has absolutely no energy for anything else, no inspiration for life at all, and he mechanically goes through the motion of life. That is what we need to probably understand in this poem. There's not much any explanation or anything. As I said, we have to go through the motion of the poem. That's all it is. Various other painters of his time, maybe also they lived a short life, but they are quite famous for their paintings. Leonardo da Vinci, Rafael, Michaelangelo are the poets or the artists that they are compared with Andrea Del Sarto here. And at one point, one of them, Rafael, who was like a contemporary, he even admits the greatness of Andrea Del Sarto. But all the other poets are well known and they have got probably their deserved place, but not Andrea Del Sarto. What could be the reason? This is the reason that he succumbed to his own attachment. That is how it completely drains you away, and finally it will not even give you that object of desire also. So there will be a complete loss everywhere. So when it is exaggerated to a point of a great painter's life like this, we should understand. So this poem is talking about a man's infatuation towards a woman, and as I said, it is just a monologue in a very melancholic way that Andrea Del Sarto is talking. He is talking throughout the poem. Nobody else is there. We'll just go through the poem. Andrea Del Sarto. But do not let us quarrel anymore. No, my Lucrezia, bear with me for once. Sit down and all shall happen as you wish. You turn your face, but does it bring your heart? I'll work then for your friend's friend. never fear. Treat his own subject after his own way. Fix his own time, accept to his own price, and shut the money into this small hand. When next it takes mine, will it? Tenderly? Oh, I'll content him. But tomorrow, love. See, the poem starts with the picture of them quarreling. Lucrezia and Andrea Del Sarto quarreling. So he is saying, let us not quarrel anymore. What is the quarrel about? We really do not know. But in the poem, we also find out that this lady, Lucrezia, has found another love, which is probably her cousin also. And that cousin has a friend. That friend has some debts. So that friend is asking this cousin, can you help me? And so therefore this cousin is using his influence on Lucrezia to make Andrea Del Sarto paint for her. See, imagine a painter who is to be a royal painter in the palace or something. What is his position now? That he has to oblige to paint for a person who is not anyway connected to him. His wife's cousin's some friend. So that's what he says. No, Lucrezia, bear with me for once. Sit down and all shall happen as you wish. Now then you say, then she's turning her face. Obviously not all the romance and everything is gone. She's disgusted with him. And in fact that is what will happen. Irrespective of the other person's character or something, your excessive attachment will create a repulsive nature in the other person. They will create revulsion. You turn your face, but does it bring your heart? That means you are there with me physically, but do you have any emotions left for me? And he is guaranteeing that I will work for your friend's friend, never fear. Whatever subject he asks me to paint, I will do it. Whatever price he pays, I will accept it. And that price I will give it to you, don't worry. And probably that is the quarrel. She is urging him to paint and give the money quickly. Maybe he has to fulfill a loan or something like that. And she is using her influence on him. She is like a puppet, she is using him. So, this is what it is. People, when they go by external, she's one of the most beautiful women. One of the most beautiful women that is agreed upon and he has encountered is Lucrezia. So going by the external paraphernalia, you are having that emotion and you fall for it. But that's all it is. The love then stops at the physical level. There is no real depth in the emotion. And it will sooner or later, the attachment will bring in all its true colors. So, and I will give you the money when it takes. So, when you are able to take my hand, I will give that money to you. So he is sort of begging her for her touch, for her affection. But he is asking, will it tenderly? Will it happen actually? I will content him, but not today. I will do it tomorrow, love. I often am much wearier than you think. This evening more than usual, and it seems as if, forgive now, should you let me sit here by the window with your hand in mine and look half hour forth on Fiesole, both of one mind as married people use, quietly the evening through. I might get up tomorrow to my work, cheerful and fresh as ever. Let us try. Tomorrow, how you shall be glad for this. Only the first line needs a little more attention here. I am often much wearier than you think. What will attachment do to a person is this, that it will completely tire you of all your energy. It will take away everything. You will feel extremely tired. What tires a personality is his mind. And when a mind is completely infatuated and attached, it always constantly goes into the worries and anxieties only. It is centered around that object of love only. But unfortunately, that completely makes you not be in the present, which is the source of all energy. So he is very pathetically saying that I am very, very tired. And see, the thing is, Of course, every art and every profession has its own effort. Sometimes FIDE chess tournament is coming. Chess is a game that is played across table, sitting in one place. But you know how much energy is required for that? It's phenomenal actually. It is all using this thing here. Okay. Now, similarly, painters will have their own exertions and their own stress and strain, even physically, I'm saying. But that is not like a hard labor of digging earth or moving boulders or something like that, right? They are wielding brush and paint and very subtle art that they are doing. But what tires is not that. What tires is the mind, and that is what we need to always remember. I am much wearier than you think. And so what you do, you only sit with me in this window. Give me your hand, I'll hold my hand. And half an hour, just let us look through this window at the city, there. The suburb there is called Fiesole of Florence, where their houses, the skyline of the city that we will watch. Both of one mind, let us try to be together. Imagine if the same couple was there during their courtship period or the period just after marriage, something where there was an extreme passion for each other, how to really become one. Like that he wants actually. Both of one mind as married people use. Let us just sit quietly the evening through. If you are able to give me this sort of a refreshment, then I will get up tomorrow to my work. I will be cheerful, I will be fresh as ever. Let us try this, okay? The point that he says, let us try, only means that he himself knows that it is not possible. Even if she sits, he is not going to be inspired tomorrow. He has to push himself to do certain things. That's all. That energy that comes out of inspiration, that's not going to be there for him. Tomorrow, you will be definitely happy for this. So obviously, she is very disgusted now. So he says, you see, when you do like this, tomorrow what I will do, you will be very happy for that. Your soft hand is a woman of itself, and mine, the man's bare breast, she curls inside. Don't count the time lost, neither. You must serve. For each of the 5 pictures we require, it saves a model. So, keep looking. So, my serpentining beauty rounds on rounds. How could you ever prick those perfect ears? Even to put the pearl there. Oh, so sweet. My face, my moon, my everybody's moon, which everybody looks on and calls his. As we read through, as I said, a very melancholic and a very tragic portrayal of the state of mind of a very great painter, it may invoke a little bit of laughter in us. We should not, in fact, but it will invoke. You have to only put yourself in his position to understand what he is going through. Very, very tough. But why does it evoke a laughter? In Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya reports, Arjuna has sat on the chariot and he says, I will not fight. There, Sanjaya says, Prahasanniva. Krishna is Prahasanniva Bharata. As though he is smiling. Now, why is Krishna smiling? There could be various reasons. Before Krishna starts his lecture to Arjuna, Ashochanam Ashocastam, before that verse, before the actual lecture starts in the 2nd chapter, verse 11, verse 10, he says, Prahasanniva. Prahasanniva means as though he is smiling. Why is Krishna smiling? We do not know. Could be for various reasons. One is that he has understood what exactly the problem of Arjuna is. So there is a satisfaction. And the satisfaction is also that I know how to bring this person out of this. So the doctor says, you have this problem, that problem. I see. And he smiles. That means he has understood what is your exact problem and he knows what medicine to give. So he is there. And second and most important thing is, the condition of Arjuna, very pitiable at that point of time, evokes a laughter in Krishna. Of course, you don't laugh at the face, but you internally feel it. Why? What a contrast. What a great Arjuna. Commander-in-chief. Everybody looked up to him. A very great soul, unselfish person, a great warrior, fearless person. suddenly crying and sitting down and in one place and not ready to, trembling and horripilation, not able to do anything. That contrast, if it is there, it will create a laughter. Like suppose you see a husband and wife walking on the street, one is 6 feet tall, another is argument like 4.5 feet. It will immediately, the disparity will create a sense of humor, a laughter will be there. So whenever there is a disparity of extreme proportion, it will create a sense of laughter in you. That is what we understand in this poem. Such a great painter, such a great talent, and here he is completely unable to do anything, not having energy. This sort of a contrast is what you need to picturize. But you have to feel for him, that's all it is. His hand, he wants her, her hand he wants to keep inside his hand, and he gives a very romantic example for that. He says, just as how a woman will curl on in the man's chest, like that he wants to have her hand inside his, and this is something of a very positive, a happy mood that he wants to create like this. Unfortunately, he is like begging for that. And he says, when you are sitting here, don't count how much time is lost. Why is time lost? Is actually that cousin who she is in love with now. He is already sending signals for her to come out, and she is wanting to go out. But this person is desperate and making her stay with him for the evening. And he says, don't think that by sitting here, and she could have told you, why are you wasting time with me? Go and paint you. Maybe she meant it, or she sort of implied it. He says, don't worry. You don't count on the time that is lost. Because that you are here like this, and I am looking at you, this beautiful figure and a face that you have, it saves a model. Suppose if I have to search for a model, and with her help, based on the mutual convenient time of everybody, I must use her a model and paint, how long it is going to take. But that is saved for me. Why? You are here. It saves a model. So you keep looking so. My serpentining beauty, rounds on rounds, he is now only outpouring his infatuation. You have very perfect ears. Your entire features are very perfect. How can you even prick those perfect ears? Even if you want to put a pearl there, it should be left as it is. That means it cannot be damaged even to that extent. You have to only understand the way in which he is saying all these things. Oh, so sweet. My face, my moon, my everybody's moon. There is what to say. Whether he deliberately means it or not, we do not know. Maybe he means it, because in the next line he is going to say, which everybody looks on and calls his. I think the moon is for me, but actually the moon is for everybody. So he thinks that Lucrezia is only his, but that is not the case. He has already lost her, right? So my face, my moon, my everybody's moon, which everybody looks and calls his, and I suppose is looked on by in turn, while she looks no one's. Very dear, no less. You smile? Why? That's my picture ready made. That's what we painters call our harmony. A common greyness silvers everything. All in a twilight. You and I alike. You at the point of your first pride in me, that's gone, But I at every point, my youth, my hope, my art, being all toned down to yonder sober pleasant Fiesole. Continuing with how he described the moon, he says, my moon, everybody's moon, and I suppose is looked on by in turn. Everybody takes turn to look at the moon. While she looks no one's. The moon is not looking at anybody. The moon is by itself. And that is exactly the position of Lucrezia. She is not bothered about what he is saying, whether somebody looks or not looks. She, at least as far as he is concerned, she is just not there. Maybe physically she is sitting there, that's all. She is actually very disgusted, and her attitude towards him is in a very condescending way. Very dear, no less. Even though moon does not Look at me, it is still dear to me, no less. You smile, she is giving a very, very condescending smile. She looks down upon him and gives a very plastic smile. Why? That's my picture ready made. And that's what we painters call our harmony. Once, suppose, in taking a photograph, you take it and you say, smile, click, immediately the picture is frozen and it comes like that. So, in and through all the moods, suddenly she smiles and that picture is frozen for him and he says, that's enough, my picture is already made. And that is what the painters call as her harmony. Harmony means the object of the painting and they are met in the same frequency now. For him, this is the right creative mood for him to come out with it. So, once she is able to smile like this, he says, that's all is required. Nothing else is required for me now. A common greyness silvers everything. This line, you underline this line, it only means, it talks about a complete melancholic picture that, it only talks about a very pathetic way in which she condescendingly looks at him. So it is all greyness all around there. That's what, in that greyness, one smile is there like that. That's all it is. So, as I said, all this really cannot be explained. You have to just visualize. And he says in that, so what do you associate the greyness with? It is in a twilight mode. All in a twilight. Everything is in a twilight. Twilight means it's in a setting phase. It's in a completely going to go now. What is in a twilight? You and I like. Each and everything, including you, me, everything is in a twilight. But for her, what is the twilight? You at the point of your first pride in me, that's gone. Her love for him in the initial days. Her pride in the work of Andrea Del Sarto, which sort of everybody was attracted and probably she was also attracted, which she was holding at pride in the beginning, that is in the twilight now. She no more considers him with any value at all. If at all any talent he has and she knows, she only uses him for her own selfish purposes in some way. Later you are going to see, she even doesn't have respect for art, to paint a picture which is an everlasting picture, how much effort and energy is required. She casually disturbs the painting as she walks along. That is the respect she has. No respect at all. So her pride in him because of that is in a twilight. That is as far as Lucrezia is concerned. For him everything is in twilight. Next 10 lines are going to talk about only that. He is picturizing the twilight mood of the Florence time, that suburb, that city, and he compares it with that twilight of Andrea Del Sarto. He lived 43 years, but already he is talking like a very old person. So aging is that way it is. When you are attached to anything, you age very fast. No energy at all. So his youth, his talent, his energy, everything is in the twilight. His career, everything is in the twilight. But I, at every point, my youth, my hope, my art, all being toned down. Completely, it's all toned down now to yonder sober, pleasant Fiesole. That's the bell clinking from the chapel top. That length of convent wall across the way holds the trees safer huddled more inside. The last monk leaves the garden, days decrease, and autumn grows, autumn in everything. The whole seems to fall into a shape, as if I saw alike my work and self, and all that I was born to be and do, a Twilight-Piece. Love, we are in God's hand. How strange now looks the life He makes us lead. Very, very sad picture of his own life, and he is able to picturize his life from what he sees outside. What he is seeing outside is the season is changing into autumn and the day is also setting into twilight, complete darkness everywhere. darkness descending everywhere is what he feels that darkness is descending in his own life also. So there is a bell that is ringing to indicate the end of the day from the church or something, and trees are shedding their leaves, and the last monk is leaving, everything he has closed and he is leaving. So he sees this picture outside, and that is what he feels is happening to his life here. And as if I saw alike my work and self. So what he is seeing outside is what he is comparing to his work and his own self, completely gone. And all that I was born to be and do. He was born to be a great painter and produce great paintings. Everything is finished off. It is in twilight, in a very, very descending phase it is. A Twilight-Piece. He is referring to himself as a Twilight-Piece. Love, we are in God's hand. Now, this line indicates that he has completely resigned himself to fate. What to do? Everything is written here like that only. God has made like this only. See, this is how we come. When a person is not able to confront the challenges of life, and not confronting the challenges based on his own loss of energy due to his mind's attachment and other thing, you resign everything that this is how it should be, and you are helpless, and you go along with the flow, meaning you have no choice at all. That way you are completely bereft of everything that you possess, and there is nothing for you to look forward to in life. But no doubt at any point of time we can say what we confront and what we get being dished out to our life is sort of a fate, is sort of a destiny. That destiny is coming according to your past actions. God is not somebody who is dishing out good to one and bad to another haphazardly. No, not like that. Each and everybody gets whatever he deserves at any point of time, and whoever gives that fruit of action to you is the Supreme God. Now, what and how we will encounter what in life we do not know, because all our past we really do not know. But there can be a pattern where we understand in a certain way you have gone along with life, you know exactly what is coming there. With a clear intellect, even a superior intellect who knows your life in and through, he will be able to easily predict. It is nothing to do with astrology, it is nothing to do with your horoscope or anything. It is the way in which your karma will span out like that, its fruit. But what you encounter in life, you have to accept it. Fine, that is a very good attitude. But how you accept it is in your hands, in the sense that is why Vedanta is a very optimistic philosophy which enables you to create a great future out of your present actions. That is, that choice that being given to us, we must utilize it fully. Like what is served to you as a deal in the card game is not in your hands, but how you play the game with that cards is in your hand. Take for example, in Ramayana, Rama is going to be coronated the next day, and he is prepared for it. He is not somebody who is wanting to shun away the kingdom and the duties and responsibilities with that. Next day, he is told that he has to go to forest. Absolutely, he takes it in extreme calmness. In fact, Lakshmana is there with him. He is for a moment completely taken aback means he is in awe, in wonder with Rama's equanimity. He couldn't say anything. Lakshmana, who is extremely emotional, at that point of time no words would come out of him, because mighty Himalayas is there standing in front of him in the form of Lord Rama. And once he goes to the quarters of Kaushalya, that is where Lakshmana is shouting and jumping up and down, and there is an excellent conversation between Rama and Lakshmana there as to how things will span out, whether it's the God's will that will finally work out, or whether it is a human has his will or not. Can he not do things by himself, take charge of the situation? So Rama consoles finally Lakshmana by saying that fate is very powerful, man. But what is interesting is Rama in the Ramayana is finally going to prove what is the power of human's will when he makes even superhuman effort to retrieve Sita, fight Ravana single-handedly. All those things he is going to show. But for the present moment he is saying, in order to honor Dasharatha's words, in order to honor the great truth and the words and Satyam, he says we have to accept fate as it is and shows a remarkable sense of renunciation. That is why, in Ramayana, we don't see sannyasi's character because that itself comes much later in Indian parampara or history. But remarkably, all the characters show a great sense of renunciation. Rama shows, Sita shows, Janaka is a picture of renunciation, Lakshmana shows, people of Ayodhya show, Bharata is the picture of renunciation. So each and everybody there is a picture of renunciation, and therefore you are not consigning yourself to fate helplessly there. There is a remarkable sense of renunciation. That is not the case here. He is helpless and he is completely lost, as though a complete taking the position of a loser in the life. We are in God's hand. How strange now. Look, he is written the fate for me like this and he is making us lead this. All this is not coming out of the conviction of surrender or something to the Supreme Lord. He is coming out of helplessness of his own situation. So free we seem, so fettered fast we are. I feel he laid the fetter, let it lie. This chamber, for example, you turn your head, all that's behind us you don't understand, nor care to understand about my art. But you can hear at least when people speak. And that cartoon, the second from the door, is the thing, love. So much things should be, so such things should be. Behold Madonna, I am bold to say, I can do with my pencil what I know. The first sentence is wonderful. So free we seem, so fettered fast we are. Attachment or bondage is an invisible rope that binds you with the object of your attachment. It is going to cause you immense harm. It is going to cause harm to the object of attachment also. We seem to be very free. Human being seems to be extremely free and he has got his choice of action and everything like that. I can do anything. But we are fettered, we are bound by our own actions. And then that samsara that we create, then there's no space at all for us to move. Unintelligent attachments, entanglements that we create for ourselves is called as samsara. See, what is interesting is, when a person uses the word surrender, when we surrender to a higher ideal, when we surrender to God as it were, that is when actually we are free. It is a paradoxical term. Surrender means we think that we are losing our freedom, but ironically, surrender gives us full freedom. And sort of a licentious freedom gives way to bondage. Suppose you give money to a young child and you say you are free to do what you want. None of the classmates have so much money. Your son has money and he can buy whatever sweet he wants. Like that, he seems to exercise his freedom vis-a-vis others who don't have that freedom. But what happens eventually? He may become a slave of that sweet that he buys. That's what will happen. So free we seem, so fettered fast we are. We don't realize how and when we get into this relationship and samsara and the mental bondage, but we do get into it very thick and very fast. By the time we realize, we are completely shackled. But it is all he-laden. So whenever we don't understand whatever we have done, we put the blame there. It is all because of God. Okay, let it lie like that. And then he talks about her value towards his own paintings. You just look around this room, this chamber. You don't understand. You don't even care to understand about my art. But at least, okay, you may not know. It requires, suppose, another painter will know the greatness of this painter. One cricketer will know another cricketer. One musician will know another musician. Okay, you may not know at least, but you know at least others who have talked about this art, my talent. You can hear at least when people speak, and that he is referring to some painting, that cartoon from the second door. That is the thing, man. That's some masterpiece that he has created. That is the thing. That is how it should be. Behold Madonna. Madonna is Virgin Mary. Various painters have painted it. Okay. He's going to talk about the painting later also. We'll come to that. I am bold to say I can do with pencil what I know, what I see, what at bottom of my heart I wish for. If I ever wish so deep, do easily. Do easily too. When I say perfectly, I do not boast. Perhaps yourself are judge, who listened to the legates talk last week, and just as much they used to say in France. At any rate, it's easy, all of it. No sketches first, no studies. That's long past. I do what many dream of all their lives. Dream, strive to do, and agonize to do. See, this may seem like he is egoistically talking of himself, but he is talking factually. That's why he himself says in the last slide that we saw, with the pencil, what all he can do easily, he was saying, whatever I see from the bottom of my heart, if I ever wish so deep, I will do it very easily. Once I am able to capture it quickly, I will do. And how? Very perfectly I will do. I do not boast. Suppose if a person says, Usain Bolt says, I am the fastest runner. Irrespective of, we need not analyze from what angle and all he is saying. But when he makes a statement, it's a statement of fact. That he is the fastest runner. There is no doubt about it. Like that, he says, I can do it very easily. That is his talent. That is the talent of Andrea Del Sarto. And he's saying, I do not boast. You can judge. How you can judge, Lucrezia? Who listened to the legates talk last week. There was somebody in the church who was in a premier position, and he was talking about the works of Andrea Del Sarto. At least to that person you can have respect and you can listen to what he said, right? And not only him, and just as much they used to say in France. Referring to his 1 year of stay in France earlier, where each and every person there was completely sold out. And they, as I said, that was the peak of his career. It was going upwards and everybody was wonderstruck at the painting of Andrea Del Sarto. So she knows all those things. And at any rate, it's all easy. No sketches first, no studies, that's all long past. See, the painters, what they used to do is, because we know one of our class member, he is a very gifted painter. He even has painted portrait of Swamiji Sunandaji and academic class and all, and framed and given to them. Wonderful. He has got that talent, and all that thing also, it takes time to do it. It is his passion. He works in a software company, but it is his passion. But when I used to take classes in his house, and he has shown his sort of, in the same room is converted like a studio, and he used to have all the setup there and paint. As he painted more and more, sketches and everything came much easier to him. But initially he used to show that he used to make grid diagrams and make initial sketches, then he can do it with a light thing so that he can correct it. All those things were there. This is all required. It's like a beautiful composition and you are laying foundation for that and it's coming out. But Andrea Del Sarto is so talented and he is so expert in that. He doesn't require any of this. No sketches, no studies, that's all long past. I do what many dream of all their lives. So many want to create so many great pictures and they dream of entire life and they try to, not dream, they strive to do. They are extremely putting all the effort to do. I do just like that. And that what he is saying is a matter of fact. Factually he is saying. And fail in doing. I could count 20 such on twice your fingers and not leave this town. Who strive, you don't know how the others strive. To paint a little thing like that you smear carelessly passing with your robes afloat. Yet do much less, so much less. Someone says, I know his name no matter. So much less. Well, Less is more, Lucrezia. I am judged. There burns a truer light of God in them, in their vexed, beating, stuffed, and stopped up brain. They try so much all their life and they fail doing it, which I can do just like that. I can count 20 such on twice your fingers, and again he is coming back. How does he want to count? He wants to count on the fingers of Lucrezia. 10 plus 10, 20, like that, one by one. And others strive to do a painting which, as I said, you carelessly smeared. As she was walking, her robes, what he has done, it is flying along, and the paint was wet probably. He is one of the greatest fresco painters, which is wall painting on dampness, it has to be done. And maybe before it has been fully finished and dried or something, she walked past, not even realizing her dress has gone smearing that. Carelessly passing with your robes afloat, yet do much less, so much less. They cannot do, however much they try, they cannot produce anything like that. Compared to that, what they produce is very less. Well, less is more, Lucrezia. Very short and pithy statement he makes. That means one who has got less talent than him, who are average painters, who are all like that, they are more. Rare is a painter like Andrea Del Sarto. Less is more, Lucrezia. I am judged like that. But here is the saddest part. Even though the painters may not have that extreme finesse and perfection as Andrea Del Sarto has, there burns a truer light of God in them. He says they are much, much, much more inspired in there, and that is getting revealed in their painting. So what he says is, even though his paintings are all very perfect, it is sort of lifeless, it is soulless. That is missing in his painting. Why? That inspiration of that art, which is a product of the Atma within, that is lacking in him. That is why even he is very much wanting somebody like Lucrezia to pep up him and give that inspiration to him. It won't work like that. You have to ultimately find out that inspiration within you. Any art is a product like that only, which pours out of a person. Be it music, be it dance, be it paint. Art is that which comes out of the heart straight like that. There burns a truer light of God in them. In their vexed, beating, stuffed and stopped up brain, heart or whatever else, then goes on to prompt this low-pulsed, forthright craftsman's hand of mind. Their works drop groundward, but themselves I know reach many a time a heaven that's shut to me. Enter and take their place there sure enough, though they come back and cannot tell the world, my works are nearer heaven, but I sit here. The sudden blood of these men, at a word, praise them, it boils, or blame them, it boils too. I painting for myself and to myself. In this set of lines, you can see the extreme mood swings of what he is talking. He is not extremely clear of what is, but what he is saying is, whatever you say, brain or heart or whatever it is, there is something which is prompting them to do certain creative things like that. That is how they are inspired and doing. Okay, that's what he says in the beginning. This low pulse forthright craftsman hand of mine. So that type of inspiration is not pushing my hands here. But their works drop groundward. Their talent and their output and their product may not be as perfect as mine. But they themselves, I know, reach many a time that heaven. In that work, in that inspiration, when they lose themselves in that art, they reach heaven. Swami Ramatirtha says that is how your work should be. A painter should become the paint himself. A musician must pour out himself that he becomes the music himself. That is when the best of your thing comes out, because your ego is completely absent. And only when the ego is absent, then you can say that you are truly inspired. One of the wonderful lectures of Ramatirtha, Swami Ramatirtha, he says, you should be inspired about your work, and that inspiration, finally, the source of it all is the Atma within. And that is what he says others have found out, right? And therefore, they reach there, they go to heaven. Though they come back and cannot tell the world. Okay, you can even assume that it's a momentary inspiration for them. We are not saying that Rafael and Michaelangelo and others are realized souls. But at the time of the art or something, whatever is the product that has come out, which is full of soulful pictures, which has even outlasted their lifetime and living even now, that is a product of inspiration. Where they have reached, they may not be able to come back and say, but that is. But again, he is saying, but you know what? I'm painting for myself and myself. I am satisfied just for the paint's sake. Something like that he is talking. So he is saying others may sometimes get affected. If somebody praise also, they get excited. Somebody blames them also, they get excited. But I am not like that. He is justifying his indifferent attitude by saying that I am painting from myself and to myself. Know what I do, I am unmoved by men's blame or their praise either. That is how ideally it should be. Know what I do, I am unmoved by men's blame or their praise either. Somebody remarks, Morello's outline, there is wrongly traced. His hue mistaken. What of that? Or else rightly traced and well ordered. What of that? Speak as they please. What does the mountain care? Ah, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp. Or what's a heaven for? All is silver grey, placid and perfect with my art, the verse. I know both what I want and what might gain. These words per se you take are talking beautiful philosophy. Whether it is coming from the depth of the experience of Andrea Del Sarto, that we may not say, that may not be the case, but these lines are wonderful. So ideally how it should be, that you pour out your talent and bring the best of what you can produce in an inspired state, like a nightingale perched on a branch will sing. You are not bothered about anything. Let them praise, let them blame. It should not really touch you. Just as a mountain will not be touched, it's rock seated in a place. And that is why he gives the example of the painting of Morello. It's a mountain that he has painted, a hill. Somebody says that is wrongly traced. His hue, the color is mistaken. What of that? What of that? What of that? Underline that. What of that? Exactly, it translates into Sanskrit as Tata Kim. What of that? Tata Kim. Beautiful Guruvashtakam, I think. In Guruvashtakam he says, I am the greatest man, I have got all the wealth, I have done this, I have done that. But if you have not got Guru's grace, Tata Kim, Tata Kim, Tata Kim, Tata Kim. That's what it says. I am the king. I have so much knowledge with me. I have so much power with me. I have so much people around me. So what? Tata Kim, what of that? What of that? So he says, what is the big deal? What of that? That's why I'm saying you take these words per se. They are wonderful words. But Andrea Del Sarto, in fact you can say Robert Browning is saying this. Robert Browning is saying, what of that? Let them speak as they speak. Does the mountain care? That should be the attitude. There is a difference between being indifferent and being detached. This is actually the state of being detached. But whether Andrea Del Sarto is speaking from that state, we really cannot say. You have done the best of your ability, not worried about the fruit of action, not worried about whatever is coming out of that censure or blame or money or no money or anything. What of that? You are extremely satisfied by doing what you ought to do. And here is a very beautiful statement. But a man's reach should exceed his grasp. In other words, whatever you can do much more than that, you must visualize the ideal and work for that. That is inspiration. Inspiration comes by your emotion being raised to a level where you do not belong to now. That is how you positively push yourself. We are inspired when certain things happen outside, which is like, for example, India is winning a match, you are inspired. Or there is a war, Kargil war, and you are inspired about supporting India. Why? You are normally working for me and myself, and suddenly there is a call of the country, you are inspired. Your emotions are into a higher level. So external prompts can inspire you. But ultimately, you have to find that inspiration from within, for which you have to absorb yourself in self-knowledge. There is no other way. If a person is like that, that is why you see the product that has outlasted many centuries, whether it is in the form of temples and paintings and art and music of this country. Each and everything was a product of inspiration. Nobody knew who were the artisans and even sometimes the kings who all did it. But they poured out their emotion with divinity in mind. And it still lasts today to say the tale. That is how it is. Be it any work of art, it should be a product of inspiration. And that comes from an higher ideal. If you want, in the relative terms, you have to work for a higher ideal, and only then you will be inspired. Working for a circle where your mind is already caught up in it will not give you inspiration. But a man's reach should exceed his craft. Or what's heaven for? Or why do we then talk about heaven? You must aspire to reach heaven. Heaven is a higher state of mind here. All is silver grey. Now he is again coming back to his twilight. Placid and perfect with my art, the verse. But he is completely lackluster in his attitude and his work now. I know both what I want and what might gain. And yet how profitless to know, to sigh, had I been two, another and myself, our head would have overlooked the world, no doubt. Yonder's a work now of that famous youth, that urbanite who died 5 years ago. 'Tis copied, George Vasari sent it me. Well, I can fancy how he did it all, pouring his soul with kings and popes to see, reaching that heaven might so replenish him above and through his heart, his art, for it gives way. See, he says, had I been, instead of one, two personalities. One personality is a painter, another personality is a lover. I would have conquered the world, no doubt. Maybe correct also, but it doesn't work that way. See, it does not mean that you don't fulfill other roles in your thing. You have to choose what you ought to be. That is where your Shraddha should be. So in other words, you want to be with the company and try to enjoy, which obviously out of your attachment you will not enjoy also. In that process, what have you lost? Your entire talent is there lying waste. It is not just the loss of Andrea Del Sarto. Remember, we should not look at it from his personal point of view. It is a loss to the art world. It is loss to the world itself. Imagine if he had lived long and produced so many great paintings. It is for all the future generations. So whose loss is it? See, that is why when some of the cricketers also, they come to Swamiji and great people like sportsmen like Geet Sethi and all have come, and then they cannot take a loss and they want to retire, and all. Swamiji sort of fires them. He says, you cannot take a loss and you want to retire. It should not be your decision. If you are a national asset, we should decide when you should play and not play. Why do you take it personally? If Gavaskar had played few more years, he would have scored few more centuries and those records would have been even more tougher to break. Why don't you look at it from India's angle? Why do you look at it from my personal angle, everything? Like that it is. So you have to choose what is, that is where the choice of action, the intellect and all should be there. But obviously that is not the case. And that yonder is a work now of that famous youth. Now he is showing another work of the other famous youth who is Rafael. Is contemporary, 4 years elder to him, and he also died very young. And that copy of his work, it is sent to him by another painter called George Vasari, and he is another one who has also noted down the incidents in the life of great artists, including Andrea Del Sarto. So George Vasari's works are a source for even Robert Browning and others when they wrote this poem. He says, I can fancy how he did it all. I can understand and I can fancy how Rafael did that painting. Pouring his soul. Others are seeing, but he is pouring his soul into that. Reaching that heaven might so replenish him. So he is recharged by that inspiration. Above and through his heart, for it gives way. That arm is wrongly put. Now he is looking at critically that piece of painting which is sent to him for his comments, for his review. That arm is wrongly put, and there again a fault to pardon the drawing's lines. Its body, so to speak, its soul is right. He means right, that a child may understand. Still, what an arm! I could alter it, but all the play, the insight and the stretch out of me, and wherefore out? Had you enjoined them on me, given me soul, we might have risen to Rafael, I and you. Nay, love, you did give all I asked, I think. That arm, it is there in the painting, that's wrongly put. There's a slight mistake there. And there again, that can be pardoned. It's just a fault. It is the body of the painting. But he says the soul is right. He can understand the feeling that is getting expressed out of it. So the way in which Rafael has produced that painting, that is there. And that is meaning is right. But still the arm, he says. So that means he is not able to peg himself at the level of the soul and the inspiration where he should be. He is coming and looking at the perfection only. He is dealing it from the earthly point of view. That's all it means. And he says, I could alter it. I could alter it. Just like that I can alter it and make the correction. But when I make that correction, he is afraid that he will not be able to match the inspiration in that picture. That is out of me. That's out of me. If only you had joined me and given me that inspiration, we would have also risen to the level of Rafael, he says. Very, very sad, pathetic again. But then he says, no, anyway you gave. Nay, love, you did give all I asked, I think. More than I merit by many times. But had you, with the same perfect brow and perfect eyes and more than perfect mouth and the low voice my soul hears as a bird the fowler's pipe and follows to the snare, had you with these same brought a mind, some woman do so. Had the mouth there urged, God and the glory, never care for a gain, the present by the future, what is that? Live for fame, side by side, agnolo. Rafael is what? Waiting. Up to God, all three. I might have done it for you. He says, you must have inspired me. But again, his infatuation and attachment completely becomes weak, and he says, but you did do. You have this perfect brow, perfect eyes, and more than a perfect mouth also. But from that mouth, whenever you say something, I hear that only. And just as a fowler, a person who catches the bird, he uses an instrument and gives the music, and the bird invariably follows him and then it is caught. Like that I am caught, he is saying. I follow you and I am caught. With all the perfect features, if only you had brought your mind. That means she was there with him physically. Obviously, her love for him is completely lost. She is very artificial in her relationship with him. But some women do, he is very hopelessly saying, some women do so. And he says, you must have told me like this. What you must have told? Had the mouth there urged, God and the glory, never care for gain, the present by the future, what is that? Live for fame, side by side with Agnolo. Rafael is waiting up. Rafael is waiting up to God, all three. You three, Rafael, Michaelangelo, and you. You are all up there. You must go, all of you must travel up to that level of heaven where God is, If you like that, if you had spoken to me, definitely I might have done it. So it seems. But then again he says, perhaps not. All is that God overrules. Whatever it is God has written, that fate is like that. So, obviously, it is not for her to inspire, but if she had inspired, maybe at least encouraging words she could have given. From her level, she couldn't do. And he knows that. If you had said more, maybe I would have done. But then, he is resigning to fate. All is as God overrules. Beside, incentives come from the soul self. Underline that. The initiative comes from within. It is coming from the Atma within. There is no other source of inspiration except your own self. The rest avail not. Why do I need you? What wife had Rafael or has Agnolo in this world? Who can do a thing will not, and who would do it cannot, I perceive. Yet the wills somewhat to the power, and thus we half men struggle at the end. We will conclude here, but I will leave this thought for you. Wonderful lines here. It is truth that he is saying, in this world who can do a thing will not, and who would do it cannot. That is how it is designed. Those who can do it, they will not do it. Those who want to do it, they really cannot do it. Like that it is. We'll continue in the next class.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.